I'm Carla Mayer from Family Memories Matter. I had something happen this week that I wanted to tell you about because I think it's something that happens to a lot of us when we're people that are interested in family history but also can get overwhelmed by family history. There was a box that my sister had saved after my father died that certainly looked historical. I brought it home, I stuck it under a desk for a while, and finally this week I realized I probably need to figure out what's in this box and decide what to do with it. So I want to tell you a little bit about what I did, share some of my ideas, and you may have ideas too that you want to share with us in the comment section. But I opened the box and the lid, and the first thing that I found was this. Look at that. Truman announces the war is over, from 1945. It doesn't get much cooler than that. Another one from 1945. The nation mourns Roosevelt. How cool is that? So there were these great bits of history. Now I'm a history buff, so my first thought was I want to post those and put them up on the wall and frame them. I did a little research and found out that that's generally not a good idea if you really want the newspapers to last. Newspaper, the actual material that it's printed on, is really not intended to be archival. And so if it's exposed to light, it will fade and you will lose the newspapers. So in general, you'd want to make a copy if you wanted to frame it. Otherwise, you want to put it in an acid-free box and store it in the shelf where it's dark but dry, very dry. The next thing I did was I pulled off the papers and found piles of letters, miscellaneous papers, cards, report cards, a lot of things. So, you know, I had that feeling, and I'm sure a lot of you have, where you think, oh, yay, this is so cool, and oh my gosh, what am I going to do with this? So I wanted to tell you a little bit about what I did. I'm hoping it'll help because these kind of things can be exciting and overwhelming all at the same time. So I started by making 3 piles. In one pile, I had things that were directly written by my father. Back in the letter writing days, he would write out by hand what he wanted to say in a letter and then copy it. So I actually have some of his draft copies of letters. So I kept all of those. I kept anything that had to do with him directly, like report cards. He got some scholarship letters, things like that. All of that was in this keep pile over here. The next pile I made was kind of a special pile because some of the letters that were in there I knew were particularly important to my father. He had a good friend in college who was named Appy. Appy was from Puerto Rico, and when Appy was in Puerto Rico and my dad was in the States, they would write each other. And so there's these nice letters between my father and his friend. I actually stacked those and kept those separate. I found this family, even though I've never met any of them, on Ancestry. And so my plan is to go back and to see if I can actually find a descendant of this man who might be interested in these letters from their relative. Then I made a pile of all the other letters that my dad got from everybody. And it's interesting reading through them because some things never change. You know how you have people on social media who like to show you what they had for lunch and tell you that they're bored, or you know, whatever the little pieces of information. Things haven't changed that much. There are some letters that just say nothing. They say nothing really about the person themselves or the person they're sending it to, other than I was thinking of you. So those letters don't have a lot of historical value, and those letters generally I will throw out. Some of the letters, though, had things in them that may have given me a clue about the area they lived in, or my father somehow. And those letters I'm going to scan and back up on my computer, and then I'm going to throw them out. Or if I think I know the family, I can check and see if somebody from that family wants to use them. So that's how I solved my problem this week. I did find an interesting fact that I didn't know before I went through this box, so it's always worth taking the time to do it. My sister and I had questioned whether my dad had taken off time between high school and college during the war, during World War II. My sister didn't think he had. I thought I'd heard he had. Well, I found his report card from his senior year in high school, and in it his teacher said, "Glenn, these are your grades for this quarter, and these grades are too good for you not to come back to school. You need to come back to school." And then I found a letter from a classmate of his, Mary Catherine White. She writes my dad and she says, "Look, I've talked to the teacher. If you come back before the end of the year, you can make up the work and still graduate. Thank you, Mary Catherine White." My father going back and finishing high school changed the trajectory of his life, because then he went on to go to college. He went on to work in civil service for the government. So that was a really like pivotal time in my dad's life, and to find those little details in the box. And again, I just want to say, I know sometimes when we find boxes like this, you just want to sort of put them down and walk away. In fact, that is what I did when I first got this box. I'm not going to lie. But when you feel ready to do it, take the time. Go through it, see what you can save, see what you think you want to keep copies of, but you don't necessarily need to keep. A lot of these papers are kind of moldy. I don't necessarily want to keep ones that don't have any real value to my family history. And then see what kind of new secrets you find out about your family. It could be the coolest experience. So you may have some other ideas for things that you've done when you've found boxes like this, so please feel free to share that in the comments below.